Hi, I'm going to be putting this on a video because I find that sometimes the videos that I post don't get as much attention, if you will, than some of the things that I write. But I really feel so strongly about this, and writing words, you've got almost limited resources because it's only the words, and it's hard to put expressions and emphasis on some of the things. So I hope that I can fit this into at least 5 minutes, or at a maximum 5 minutes. And that is, I've been grappling with this question in my mind of why do certain things happen, and why does God for lack of a better word, let some things happen when we've asked for something different, and we had real faith in the situation where we were asking for it, and it still doesn't happen. And last night when I was outside praying, this word came to me: my mercy is an extension. And I grappled with this for a bit because it didn't make sense off the bat. And the more I started working through it, the more clarity started to come into my heart and mind regarding it. And that is that when we talk about mercy and grace, it's one of those things where it's almost the one, as if the one is synonymous with the other. You always kind of like, when you hear mercy, you hear grace, and people talk about the mercy and grace of God. And in our minds, it becomes one and the same thing almost. But there is actually a difference between it, and I've come to realize that it's almost a crucial difference for us to understand. You see, grace is what we have available to us, and it's available to all. It's to use a fancy word, it's irrevocable. It cannot be taken back. It is not something that changes. It is part of God's character, and it's accessible to all through Jesus' sacrifice. And no matter where we are, what we're going through, that grace is ours. Mercy, on the other hand, is an extension even of God's permissive will, if you choose to use that term. But God's got a course planned out for us in our lives, and sometimes we'll come across challenges and difficulties and our own bitter cup, so to speak, that we need to drink. And we'll go to God and we'll petition Him, request from Him a change. And God may or may not grant that change. And in that, it's so important to remember, yes, as Jesus did, to say, yes, but your will be done. But also to remember that irrespective of the outcome of that request that God has given, His grace is not void because He chose to follow a given path in our lives. So often we might ask the question, why was so-and-so taken away from me, so early, or why has somebody come down with illness, or we don't get the answer that we want when we're praying for a change in a situation, be it a healing, be it a job situation, be it a personal situation, or whatever the case may be. Because, after all, we're not asking for a bad thing, we're asking for a good thing. And then it does our heads in when God chooses a different path, and we try and look at ourselves and say, why have I failed? Why have I done this? Why has God forsaken me, or something like that? But the truth is, God never forsakes you. His grace is always there. We approach God and we ask Him for mercy in situations. But just remember that God's mercy is not God's grace, and God's grace is not God's mercy. You will never be without God's grace. And God's mercy is infinite. It's absolutely infinite. Our requests might not sometimes look the same, or the outcome of our request might not always look the same as what we think is best. But the substance of what He's going to give you is always going to be the best. His mercy is not void from a situation, but sometimes our petitions and our requests don't take the exact same form as His fuller mercy that we're praying for. thank God for His grace, and ask God for mercies in our lives. I hope that made sense to somebody, and I hope it'll hit closely as what it did for me. God bless you.